We continue chapter motion in a plane. The question which were discussed, question number 7, 4.7. The question was number was 4.7. 4.7. And we have discussed part 5, part B, that the magnitude of A plus C equals the magnitude of B plus D. So this statement is true because we have given A plus B plus C plus D equals to 0. Then A plus C B equals to minus of B plus D, and magnitude of A plus C is equals to magnitude of B plus D. Therefore this statement is true. Now we discuss part C. For part C, the magnitude of A can never be greater than the sum of the magnitude of B, C and D. Part C, the magnitude of vector A can never be greater than the magnitude of vector A can never be greater than the sum of the magnitude. The sum of the magnitude of vector B, C and D. The magnitude of vector A can never be greater than the sum of the magnitude of A plus A, B, C and D. So we have given that vector A plus B plus C plus D equals to 0. Eliminate A. So we can write vector A equals to minus of vector B plus vector C plus vector D. And the magnitude of vector A is equals to magnitude of vector B plus C plus D. So either the sum of the magnitude of the vector B plus C plus B, C and D is equal to the magnitude of the vector A. Either it is equal to or greater than, but it never be less than. B plus C plus D never be less than A. So in other way, we can say that the magnitude of vector A can never be greater than the sum of B plus C plus D. So the magnitude of the sum of the vectors. So the magnitude of the sum of the vectors B, C, D, B, C, D can be equal to or greater than the magnitude of vector It means A is always less than the sum of the magnitude of the vector B, C and D. So it is true, this statement is true. A can never be greater. So this statement is true. A can never be greater than the sum of the magnitude of B, C and D. The next part D. B plus C must lie in the plane of A and D. B plus C. The next part is its part C is the magnitude of part B. B plus C must lie. B plus C. B plus C must lie in the plane of A and D. B plus C must lie in the plane of B plus C must lie in the plane of A and D. In the plane of vector A and vector D. If A and D are not collinear, if A and D are not collinear, and in the line of A and D, and in the line of A and D, if they are collinear. So we have to say this statement whether it is true or false. The statement is B plus C must lie in the plane of A and D. B plus C must lie in the plane of A and D if A and D are non-collinear, and in the line of A and D if they are collinear. So this statement is true because B plus C must lie in the plane of A and D if A and D. This statement is true. This statement is true. This statement is true because A plus B plus C, we have given A plus B plus C plus D equals to 0, and we can write in this way: B plus C plus A plus D equals to 0. B plus B and C taken in bracket, so the resultant sum of three vectors B plus C and can be 0 only. So the resultant sum of these three vectors B plus C, A and B must be 0. The resultant sum of these three vectors B plus C, A and D must be 0 if B plus C is in the plane of A and D. If B plus C is in the plane of A and D. So that's why this statement is true. This statement is true. Now we discuss the next question, which is 4.8. Question number 4.8. Question number 4.10. This is one of the important questions. And the question given is on an open ground, a motorist follows a track that turns to his left by an angle of 60 degrees. On an open ground, a motorist follows a track that turns to his left by an angle of 60 degrees after every 500 meters. So suppose the motorist follows a hexagonal path. Suppose the motorist follows the hexagonal path. Suppose the motorist follows the hexagonal path. The motorist follows the hexagonal path. Means there are total 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Suppose that motorist follows the hexagonal path and follows a track that turns to his left by an angle of 60 degrees every 500 meters. After every 500 meters, the motorist turns to the left. After every 500 meters, he turns to the left at an angle of 60 degrees. The motorist turns to the left at an angle of 60 degrees after every 500 meters. All these distances are equal to 500 meters. It turns to the left at an angle of 60 degrees, and let's name it A, B, C, D, E and F. We know that each angle of a hexagon, each interior angle of hexagon is 120 degrees. Each angle of hexagon, interior angle of hexagon is 120 degrees. So the question is, starting from a given turn, let the motorist start from point A. So starting from the given turn, specify the displacement of the motorist at the third turn. Starting from the initial point A, we have to find the displacement at third turn. So this is the first turn, this is second turn, and this is third turn. Means we have to find the displacement. Find the displacement at third turn. Third turn means when the motorist is at point D, then we have to find the displacement. Then the displacement will be found by joining the line, joining the point from A to D. When the motorist is at third turn, this is the first turn, second turn and third turn. When the motorist is at third turn, then the displacement is found by joining A and D. By joining A and D. So firstly we have to find the displacement at third turn, then sixth turn and eighth turn. This is the third turn, and sixth turn is the third turn, fourth, fifth and sixth turn. The displacement of the at third turn, then sixth turn. Sixth turn. Sixth turn means when the motorist reaches at point A, and then eighth turn. Eighth turn means this is seventh turn and this is eighth turn. Eighth turn. Eighth turn when the motorist is at point C. So when the motorist is at point C, then the displacement is formed by joining the line, joining the point from A to C. This will be the displacement. So suppose the motorist starts right from point A. Suppose motorist start riding the motorcycle at point A, and at the end of third turn he reaches the point D. At the end of third turn he reaches the point D. At the end of sixth turn he reaches the point A, and at the end of eighth turn he reaches the point C. Then join this point. Let this is 90 degree, and we calculate this angle first, theta. We find this angle, theta, and name it the point G. Name this point as G. So from triangle BGC, from triangle BGC, we find the relation between hypotenuse and base. So relation between hypotenuse and base. So, and this angle is, if this angle is 60 degree, then this angle will be 30 degree, because this is 90 degree. So 90 plus 30, 120 plus 60, 180, a straight line. So from triangle BGC, we use the formula cos theta, cos 30 degree, equals to base upon hypotenuse. Base is BG and hypotenuse is BC. And the value of cos 30 is root 3 by 2, and we are interested to find the value of BG. BC is given 500. So we get the value of BG. BG equals to 500 root 3 upon 2, means 250 root 3. This is the value of BG. We calculate the value of BG, and in the same way this angle is 90, and we can also calculate the side GD. So the GD must remain same as BG. So GD is also equals to 250 root 3. So we calculated the value of BG and GD, 250 root 3. Now at the third turn, the displacement is calculated by, the third turn means at point B. So first we talk about at the third turn. At the third turn means at point D. The displacement is AD, and AD can be written as AD equals to AB plus BD. AD equals to AB plus BD. The displacement is equals to AD which is equals to AB plus BD. And the third term means at point D, the displacement AD equals to AB plus BD, and BD can be written as BC plus CD. So the displacement AD is equals to AB as it is, and BD can be written as, from triangle's law, BD equals to BC plus CD. BD equals to BC plus CD. Now we find the magnitude of AD. So we can use the Pythagoras theorem in triangle ABD. So from triangle ABD, we use the Pythagoras theorem. So AD equals to under root of AB square and plus BD square, and the value of AB is 500. So AB square as it is, and BD can be written as BG plus GB the whole square. So we get the value of AD under root of AB square plus BG plus GB the whole square, and the value of AB is 500. So 500 the square, and the value of BG and GB both have 250 root 3. So their sum will be 500 root 3. 500 root 3 the whole square, and we get the result 2540 plus 25 into 3, 75 and 40, and then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this will be 1000 meter. This is 1000 meter. We get the value of AD, and 1000 meter is also written as 1 kilometer. So AD equals to 1000 meter equals to 1 kilometer. So the displacement of the motorist at the end of third term is 1000 meter from A towards B. So the displacement is 1000 meter from A towards B. The direction of displacement is towards D, from A to D, and the displacement we get 1000 meter or 1 kilometer. Now the total path length covered. This is the displacement which we have calculated. Displacement AD is equals to 1000 meter or 1 kilometer. Now we calculate the total path length covered. Total path length covered. So this will be calculated by the actual distance traveled is the total path length covered. So the actual distance is AB, BC and CD. So which is written as AB plus BC plus CD. And all these distances are, AB is 500, this is 500 and this is also 500. So 500 plus 500 plus 500 means 1500 meter, which is equals to 1.5 kilometer. So the total path length covered, this is the distance, is 1.5 kilometer. And now we have to calculate the ratio of magnitude of displacement upon total path length covered. Magnitude of displacement. Magnitude of displacement upon total path length. So the magnitude of displacement is 1 kilometer and the total path length is 1.5 kilometer. So we get 10 by 15, which is 2 by 3, 0.66 kilometer. This is the ratio of the magnitude of displacement to the total path length covered. 0.666 in round off. We can write 0.67. This is the ratio. Now at the sixth turn, this we have calculated the displacement and total path length covered and their ratio. Then we will find the displacement and the total path covered when the particle is at sixth turn, means at point A. So at sixth turn. At sixth turn means when the motorist is at point A. So in this case, the motorist was started from point A and he reaches the point B. He reaches the same point. So displacement becomes 0. Displacement equals to 0 because he reaches to the initial point from where he started. Now the total path length covered. The total path length covered. So the total path length covered is AB plus BC plus CB. Total path length covered is AB plus BC plus CB plus BE plus EF and plus FA. And all these are 500 meters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 500 into 6. We get 3000 meter, means 3 kilometer. And the ratio of the magnitude of displacement to the total path length covered. Ratio of the magnitude of displacement to the total path length covered. To the total path length. So the magnitude of displacement is 0 and 0 upon 3 kilometer we get 0. So we have calculated the magnitude of displacement and the total path length covered by the motorist when he is at third turn and at sixth turn. In the next video we discuss about when the motorist is at eighth turn, then what would be its displacement and the total path length covered.